This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Aquarius Home Services has your shot at 4 tickets to see Green Bay take on the Purple in early January, plus $500 in game day cash. Register for your chance to win today on the KFAN contest page. That's KFAN.com/furnace to enter today.
How critical do you think that game will be, Kennedy? That's the last game of the season, is that correct? Regular season game? Or not? It's early January, it must be, right? Vikes,
yes,
Green Bay.
That would be the last game of the year.
Do you think that, do you think both teams will have safely secured a playoff spot prior to that, or do you think that might be one of those got to win to get in, win and get in? I think it might be a win to get in.
I think for the Purple, it might be a win to get in.
It might be a win to get in kind of a game. When earlier we were talking about this will be the second time Joe Flacco's played against the Green Bay Packers this season,
yes,
because when he was quarterbacking with Cleveland, they actually won the game. The Browns beat the Packers. Flacco gets traded to the Bengals. There are those, I think you even expressed some maybe some surprise as to what's the point. And I think for me, the only thing I can think of, now I'm not saying this is logical or this is realistic, but I'd mentioned I don't think if you're going to trade for a veteran quarterback, you may as well get a guy. It's not going to take him long to pick
I don't have a problem with them doing it all.
Oh, I thought you said you did. I thought you were.
No, you were just making the comment about why they were favored by 14. I'm like, well, Joe Flacco is like not the greatest quarterback. Is he an upgrade over Jake Browning? Yes. Yeah. Did you have to give up basically nothing to get him? Yeah. Yes. So, I would have made the move.
Oh, I thought you were surprised by it. Well, anyways,
I actually would have gotten Jameis Winston.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to get to my point, though.
Okay.
Sorry, I misinterpreted what you said. It sounded like you were surprised. He can pick up an offense instantly. It's not like it's going to be like he has to stay up late at night to figure it out. Second of all, as I'd mentioned, he's throwing to one of the best wide receiver tandems in all of football.
Yeah.
And maybe most important is they're still in the thick of things. I mean, the Ravens are 1-3. They're a terrible team in a terrible city with terrible fans and a terrible stadium. The Browns are the Browns. The Steelers are 3-1. But the Bengals are 2-3, and so, and again, the Steelers haven't done anything that leads me to believe that, man, they're just going to keep winning. The way it's going, they'll probably win the division. But I think if you're Cincinnati, you can't give up on the season yet. Just like there are those when you and I have been discussing, if even after McCarthy is 100%, do you insert him right away in the lineup regardless of how the Vikings are doing as a team and then how Wentz is doing individually? I think you and I both, again, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth again, if Wentz continues to win and plays as well as he has, I'd just keep playing him until the wheels fall off. I would. That's what I would do. And I know we all want to see McCarthy and this and that and the other thing. So my point is, because I don't, but others have texted us and saying, we already know this team ain't going to the big games. We got to see with what we got. Teams don't think that way that are still in the hunt, right?
Especially when you're 3-2.
Yeah. And even with the Bengals at 2-3, they're only, a game and a half behind the Steelers. And like I said, with the Ravens and the Browns being the Ravens and where the Ravens are right now, where the Browns. So you can't give up on it, particularly when it looks like Burrow could be back in late December, back in 63. So he might come back, and that would be a case where, unless Flacco is having a career year, you would replace Joe Flacco with Joe Burrow.
Yes.
I think that's one where,
because you got Burrow. Yeah.
Because you have Burrow. He's that good. So,
the Bengals right now in the AFC are 8th place. 7 go to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
there you go. And they have a losing record right now.
If you can somehow hang around 500 until Burrow gets back later in the year, and maybe you go on a late December run and get it in the postseason, there's a lot of teams in the AFC that wouldn't want to see Joe Burrow in a playoff game.
You are correct. We looked at NFL power rankings yesterday from The Athletic.
The what?
The Athletic.
What's that?
Really, you don't know? It's somebody that's really good at whatever sport they choose to do. They're in good shape. The Athletic is a online sports newspaper where they created. I think the New York Times actually bought The Athletic for a boatload of money, if I'm not mistaken. And The Athletic cherry-picked who they thought were the best writers pretty much in every major metropolitan area. Gave them a nice significant raise and said, we want you to cover the local teams. And so they did a power rankings. They had the Lions as the number one team in the National Football League. They won 4 in a row after losing in Green Bay to start the season. And if I'm not mistaken, the Packers were top 10, and the Vikings, I think, weighed in as the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest are the best at 16. CBS Sports agrees with the Lions as the best team in football. They go from number 2 last week to number 1, a best team in pro football, followed by the Eagles at 2, Bills at 3, the Buccaneers at 4, and the Colts at 5. They have the Packers at 7 above 2 other 4-1 teams, the Jaguars and the 49ers. How do you, and again, power rankings are subjective, and we always have we overreact or underreact every week. I like the Packers. Well, no, I dislike the Packers, but just as a team and how they're playing, I think I like what they're doing, and I like the makeup of their club. I just don't know if I'd put them over the Jaguars. They were mighty impressive very impressive, and so I just don't know if I would. Maybe CBS Sports needs to see a little bit more before they believe. But Packers at number 7. Would you have?
Well, a lot of this is still left over from preseason predictions, right? Like you said, Indy was at 5.
Yeah, they have the Colts at 6. They have the Steelers at 5.
You could argue the Colts are the best team in football right now.
You could.
Now, I know their schedule hasn't been overly tough, but they do have a quality win against the Denver Broncos within that win stretch of wins. And while they haven't had a challenging schedule, they've been whooping up on that schedule.
Yes.
I mean, they beat the Dolphins by 25 points. They beat the Titans by 21. They just beat the Raiders by 34. So it's not like they're just skimming by on the hairs of their chinny chin chin against these bad teams. And then, like I said, they got a very good win against the Broncos in there. So. Right. But we went into the season going, the Indianapolis Colts are not a playoff team, so it's almost like it takes longer for those types of teams to get the respect from the power ranking rankers.
Here's one that says, please tell me who Detroit has beaten. The GD team they played lost. Now the GD team they lost, and the injuries are stacking. They do have some injuries on defense. They haven't beat very good teams, but they're beating those teams rather handily. So they're
now, when they played Baltimore, they still had Lamar Jackson, did they not?
Yeah.
So I know the Ravens are 1-4, and people think they're terrible all of a sudden. If Lamar Jackson's playing, that's a good team.
Yeah, and
regardless of how bad their defense is.
That's correct. And if you remember, they opened the season, as you say, with a 1-point loss to Buffalo, who's considered one of the best teams in the league. So
and Chicago's 2-2.
Yeah.
And they smoked them.
Yeah. And
they smoked the Browns while the Vikings and Packers both struggled with the Browns.
Exactly. Yeah. So I understand why, you look at strength of schedule and such like that. And we'll see what happens on Sunday night when they take on Kansas City. I'm not even suggesting that Detroit is the best team in pro football. Once a Lions fan, always a doubting Lions fans. That's what we do. But the Vikings are at 17, right below your other big game pick. They have the Chiefs at 16 and the Vikings at 17. Let's see if and I don't think they actually have. They have a quick couple of sentences, and here's what it says about the Vikings. Rallying to beat the Browns and get a split of their 2 overseas games was big for this team. They now head to their bye. J.J. McCarthy should be back at quarterback when they play the Eagles in 2 weeks. So they are convinced, at least at CBS, they say should be. They're expecting McCarthy to to get the start. And you and I have been discussing this, Tenneby, and I'm starting to believe. I thought they would ride with Wentz for a while, and they still could. They still might. But I don't know what to call it, my gadfly sense tingling, but just right, some of the things the coach has said about, this watching Wentz for the past couple of games, going through the progressions, getting rid of the ball has been good for him. We're going to get him some work. We're going to get him back. I think they're planning to play him because he's the quarterback whisperer. And don't just take it from me. A former Viking basically said that. Do you have that sound? Can we get that on the air? You sent it to me earlier
today.
I
can get that, yes.
Yeah. A former Viking is basically calling Kevin O'Connell a quarterback whisperer. We'll listen to that soundbite. Other side of the break. Here on the Common Man program on the Fan. Oh, by the way, Tenneby's got a keyword for the National Cash Contest.
The Fan and 2 Men in a Junk Truck want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our National Cash Contest. Enter the keyword check at KFAN.com now for a shot at winning. The keyword is check. Enter now at KFAN.com. There you go, Common. Comedians Hassan Minaj and Ronnie Chang hate each other.
They don't like each other very much.
And they're taking it public. Catch Hassan hates Ronnie. Ronnie hates Hassan at the Orpheum Theater Saturday, November 1st. 2 comedy legends. 1 epic roast battle. No. Get the full details now at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
It could be the comedy event of the century is what it could be. Speaking of comedy events, before the Grum is over, I have another pair of tickets to give away to the Petty Theft Tour. Just a couple of pickpockets. Meat Sauce and Common Man, along with Larry Mondello Guy, will be at Max's on the Green in Spicer Saturday night. That's this coming Saturday. Tickets available at Eventbrite. Larry Mondello Guy will MC, followed by Sauce, and then myself. We're looking forward to it. They've got play and stay package.
With Sauce, there shouldn't be called Event Dumb.
That text messenger said that you have a quick wit and you should be on Flop, Sweat, and Tears with material like that.
With that material.
I think we'll pass. But nice. That was still a nice effort. And so they've got I think it's a 52-room hotel, and they've got golf course and food, and so we're going to have a good time. I look forward to it. But we'll give away a pair of tickets before the end of the Grum. Last thing, who is Detroit beaten? Well, it's their offense is picked up where they were last year, and they're doing the same. They're offensively, they're really, really good, and defensively, they're still relatively healthy. They're a good club. You don't have to say they're the best at football, but they're certainly a top 5 team right now. I don't know how you could not say they're not.
By the way, the Vikings have beaten the exact same teams too. If you're going to argue that, then you're like, well, the Vikings aren't that great either.
That's exactly right.
And our wins have not been as convincing, other than Cincinnati.
They're in this town, not in just this town, all across the National Football League, the reigning NFL Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell, has been bestowed with the title of Quarterback Whisperer. That any quarterback that he comes in contact with immediately blossoms, flourishes, start playing at a level he never has before. Kind of started with Cousins, even though I don't know if he made Cousins that much better. I think Cousins was already a pretty quality quarterback. I don't know if he took a real step forward, but maybe he did. Maybe if you break down the numbers. I know he had a terrific season under O'Connell. It was that first 14-3 year, 13-4. Was it 13-4?
Yeah.
First year? And he was really good. And I don't know if O'Connell, and then, when we got Pasternaut for those first couple of games, he looked brilliant. If you'll remember, after the first game, Viking fans were saying we need to sign Pasternaut to a long-term deal. It was almost Sano-like. Remember somebody said that we needed to sign Sano to an $80 million deal? There were people that wanted to sign a Pasternaut to a long deal. So the head coach has also said, and he has a couple of pet phrases that he uses, including our players played their best when their best was required. He also says organizations more times than not fail quarterbacks than quarterbacks fail organizations, which means we failed for the Pasternaut, we failed for Mullins, We failed for several other quarterbacks, but we've obviously done a lot for Sammy Darnold. Again, you and I have talked about how he spent a year with San Francisco, a Super Bowl year as the backup. He didn't play, but Darnold has said working in that organization, seeing how a real team operates was instrumental to the way he played. Danny Dimes was also here for a very short period of time. He is now flourishing with Indianapolis. After leaving the Giants, he came here, and he was here for just a handful of games at the tail end of last season, decided to go to greener pastures, and I think that was really due in large part to the Vikings. I think made it perfectly clear they were not going to go with Sam Darnold. They didn't offer him a deal. They didn't want to pay him. They didn't sign Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they really made much of an offer to Danny Dimes. They wanted to go with their hand-picked draft pick, J.J. McCarthy. Danny Dimes was recently, I think this week, was in is it a podcast of some sort?
Yeah, it's
Fitz and Wit.
Fitz and Wit. That must be you. Yeah, because you're Wit. So Fitz and Wit.
Do you know who Fitz is?
Fitz would be
Fitz Magic.
And then Witt would be the former Rams lineman, right?
Yep.
They do a podcast together, and they had Danny Dimes on. Do we need to set this up? Where they asked him, why are you playing at this level? Or what was the question there? Or do you have the question?
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'll
play the whole question.
I'll play the entire video.
Yes, here we go.
Daniel Jones, New York Giants, and then go to Minnesota and come here. What are some of the things you feel like you've grown in, or maybe experiences you've had that you've matured from?
Well, I always thought I worked, really hard. I tried to work really hard, and it was important to me to prepare, watch film, study. And I think I did that, but then going to Minnesota, I saw how Sam prepared, how, Kevin prepared those guys, Josh McCown, Grant Udinski, that crew, and how detailed they were day in and day out on every little bit of the plan and how they're going to study it, what they're looking for, walking through it, quizzing each other in the quarterback room. And that made a big impression on me. And I was like, okay, this is maybe the next level of some of that stuff. And I think that changed. I think Kevin's just how aggressive he was in the play calling. I mean, you guys see it. It's like, it's play pass, but it's a lot of drop back shots, taking their chances, and that made an impression on me too. So, I think several things like that, and just being around those guys.
And now,
quarterback whisperer. That's it. There it is.
You can't deny it anymore.
He did credit Darnold to start watching Sam. Yeah. He also credited it, the quarterback's coach, which I think is a good point. Because that's kind of what I've been trying to say all along. Is it's not just O'Connell's just the latest example of the idolization and pedestalization people get when they have some success, and all of a sudden they need to be labeled this, they need to be labeled that. Everybody's got to be the greatest we've ever seen, and the best of this, the best of that, because that's just what we feed off. That's the sort of things we look for in sports. I thought what was important there was he was talking about how aggressive, and how he basically says with O'Connell's offense, I don't know if I would call it Air Coryell. Don Coryell was head coach, offensive coordinator for the Chargers back in the days of Dan Fouts. And they threw the ball early, they threw it often, and they threw it long. And that's what I think O'Connell likes to do. He likes to get, and when you have we talked about this in the first segment, when you have two wide receivers that can spread the field, or stretch the field, like Addy and Jet, because both those guys can, they're not doing little button hooks and square ins and they're downfield. But to be able to do that, you have to have an offensive line that can give the quarter, because it takes a few seconds for those routes to develop and for a guy to get open. So you need a line that can provide that kind of protection, and then you need a quarterback like they talked about. The coach himself was talking about how he thinks McCarthy should have picked up something watching Wentz these past few weeks, and we know Wentz is probably a Midland quarterback, maybe slightly above average, slightly below, however you want to rank him, but he's played pretty well for the Vikings in relief of McCarthy, but he makes quick decisions. He's gotten sacked, And a lot of those, I think, might be coverage sacks or maybe the line breaking down. With last week, we talked about it. They ended the game with only one of their to start the season, we had the idea of these are going to be the 5 guys that start for us. We're going to have Ryan at center. We're going to have Fries at right guard, and then we're going to have Ryan O'Neal. Then we're going to have Jackson at left guard, right? The young kid, was he penciled in to start?
Yes.
And then it was going to be Darisaw. Well, Darisaw didn't start the season. Jackson's hurt. Ryan's
Kelly's
got
hurt.
concussions. Yeah, Kelly. Is it Kelly Ryan or Ryan Kelly?
Ryan Kelly.
Ryan Kelly. He's got concussion issues, and O'Neal's been out because he's got a sprained knee. And despite that fact, that last drive was mighty impressive in that game against who did we just beat? The Browns? Yeah, beat the Browns. That was an impressive drive to drive. In the final drive of the game where you had to take the ball all the way down the field, they were able to do it and score the tutty. So, there are a lot of positives.
I looked at that as compliment to KOC, but also it's kind of insulting to the Giants, right?
Well,
if you're in New York listening to this right now, you're going, oh, yeah, our coaching staff is awful.
That's correct.
But I would also say J.J. McCarthy also had the same opportunity to learn from Sam Darnold last year in KOC.
Yeah.
So we still need to...
Hold on.
He's going to learn. He just hasn't had enough chance to show it yet. He's going to show us next week against Philadelphia.
You're exactly right. One final break. I'll come back with another segment to go, and then we turn it over to Big Ticket and JG here on what we affectionately call FM 100.3, The Fan. The music makes it sound like something really exciting and controversial and really fun to listen to is coming up.
Intense.
Yeah, it's music's very misleading. You're not going to get anything of such. You are going to
give it about 3 seconds. Wait till the music's about to change. Ready?
Oh. Wow.
Metallica.
Iron Maiden. Megadeth. 5-finger Deathlock. No, 5-finger Punch. Punch and Judy. Punch Drunk. You want to laugh your face off? The Just a Couple of Pickpockets. It's the Petty Theft Tour with the Common Man, Meat Sauce, Larry Mondello guy. We're set to take over Max's on the Green and Spicer on Saturday. Grab your tickets today at eventbrite.com or be part of the heist right now. Be caller number 11 at 1-800-320-5326. 1-800-320-5326. The 11th caller will be a winner from Meat Sauce, Common, Larry Mondello guy. Max is on the Green and Spicer, and all of us here at the Fan. So call now.
And there's no false advertising here. Like they're acknowledging ahead of time we are stealing money from you.
Yes.
So don't come in with any expectations.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and we should let you know that we don't have a money back guarantee. You pay and you're not satisfied with the product. That's just the way she goes. Tenneby, you know me. I'm a big power rankings guy. I stumbled across the weekly quarterback power rankings. The signal callers. Who do you think CBS Sports has as the number one quarterback right now in all of pro football?
Still going to lean Josh Allen, even though it wasn't as favorable the other night.
It is Josh Allen. It says he may not have gotten the best of the rival Patriots in a surprise Week 5 defeat, putting the ball in harm's way a bit more than usual as of late, but he's still the NFL's most trustworthy playmaker at the position this side of Patrick Mahomes. Yet they don't have Patrick Mahomes number 2.
I was actually going to say Mahomes number 2. I know the record's not good, but Mahomes has actually had a pretty good 5-game stretch here.
Who do you think they have at number 2?
I mean, kind of like your obvious guys, like, Jalen Hurts has not been great at throwing the football. You have Burrow and Lamar Jackson are both hurt. It technically probably should be Daniel Jones. I just don't know if they're going to give him the equity or not. And then you have, your Jared Goffs and your Baker Mayfields. Jared Goff. Goff has not been off.
Well, here's can I say this? Because I remember when the Lions made that trade, and I said, I think the Lions got a really good quarterback out of the deal. And there were people that disagreed with me and said, no. He's just Jared Goff. He's not very good. He's not good in the clutch. Yeah, he went to a big game, but that was more because of the system he played with. He played with
it was all McVay.
He played with McVay and a quarterback whisperer. And I remember telling people on this very radio station, and I'm not wrong often, as you know. I'm almost always right. I nailed that one. Jared Goff is very good. Again, I do think if he's got a patch, you put him behind this patchwork Vikings offensive line, he probably looks more like J.J. McCarthy. But when you give him time, he can read it. He's a veteran quarterback that's very good at what he does. Number 3, tend to be. I don't think you're going to get this one.
So it's obviously not in the names I've already mentioned.
No, it's not in the names you mentioned. Matter of fact, it was another person that was drafted.
Herbert, Stafford, Lawrence. Drake May?
No, it was another guy that when he was drafted, there was a lot of pushback by fans of that team, by members of that team, or at least one member of that team. And I said, well, if you're the general manager,
Jordan Love?
Jordan Love is number 3 quarterback, and I don't know if he's 3, but I think I feel vindicated that when he was drafted, most people, including Aaron Rodgers, were beside themselves. How do you draft? You've got Aaron Rodgers. He needs a wide receiver. You're doing a disservice. And I defended the selection by saying, as a caretaker of the organization, you might be wrong, but if you think you see a franchise quarterback, it's incumbent upon you to select him, even if you already have a quarterback there. Green Bay's done it before. They had Favre, they drafted Rodgers, they drafted Love. Sometimes you just have to. Here's what it says. Resting up on the Packers bye in Week 5, Love may have had a scarily sloppy finish to Green Bay's last outing, an overtime tie, but when asked to heave it as Matt LaFleur's signal caller, he's been electric, averaging 8.3 yards per toss.
It's pretty good.
They like what they see in him. Matty Stafford at 4, and then Patty Mahomes at number 5. They say the magic is still within Mahomes. It's not hard to see it when he's on the move, single-handedly carrying the Chiefs' ground game. But even he isn't meant to press so hard. Kansas City's unusually sloppy setup isn't doing him a lot of favors. Then they have Baker Mayfield, another guy that I've always liked. And again, he's one of those guys where if he were the quarterback of my team, it's one of those tend to be where, when it's like it's 3rd and 12 or whatever, you're kind of, how you put your hands over your face not to look, but then you kind of open your 2 fingers to kind of peek. That's how I feel when Mayfield, because he's not afraid to throw it at any time into any kind of an area.
He's got a little gunslinger, too.
He's got some gun, and
He'll run occasionally, too, and get tough yardage in those situations.
Week after week, Mayfield further cements himself as the face of the Bucs. Even when missing key vets like Mike Evans, he scraps it out with a near unmatched vigor, and he's all but mastered the art of fourth quarter gunslinging. Then your guy Hurts at 7, Prescott at 8, Jaden Daniels at 9, and then Sammy Darnold at 10.
Wow, yeah, I forgot.
The former Viking. Here's what it says. A rushed throw turn pick ended his bid for a shootout win in Week 5, but on the whole, Darnold's been razor sharp, feeding Jackson Smith the Jigba. Under his snappy direction, the Seahawks are averaging almost 30 points a game. And we had him. But we all know the decision that was made. $100 million was a lot of money. And I think there was still a sour taste. And I don't know. I don't think O'Connell's ever come out and said that Detroit game just really, really left a bad taste in my mouth. And I just don't know if, as much as we pushed him along and I quarterback whispered him to be in that situation and do that, I don't know if I can trust him. I don't know if that was it or they were just so high on McCarthy. And I'm thinking it's probably the latter. They're thinking $100 million for Darnold, and he had that it was a bad performance against the Lions, or our hand-picked guy that has only lost 3 games in high school and college, and I think that's why they did. They've got Drake May at 11, Justin Herbert at 12. Do you think that's a little low with some of the other guys up above him?
I guess 2 weeks ago, I think he would have been in the top 5.
Yeah.
And the last 2 performances against, one at least being a mediocre team have not gone so well for him. So opinions change quickly in the National Football League. It's a what have you done for me lately type of league.
They got Rodgers at 13, Danny Jones at 14, Bo Nix at 15, C.J. Stroud at 16. Now the mighty have fallen. Remember Stroud? Was it his rookie year he was brilliant or second year when he took the
rookie year?
He was brilliant. Really, I mean, for the most part.
Then took a step back last year.
Exactly. They have Trevor Lawrence at 17, Caleb Williams at 18, Michael Penix at 19, then Tua at 20, and then checking in at 21 is Carson Wentz.
Oh, we're at 21?
We're at 21. Here's what it says about Carson.
Above average at that.
It says for one half of his second start in place of J.J. McCarthy, Wentz was borderline reckless, absorbing big shots on the move. His veteran touch prevailed in the end as he kept feeding his gifted wideouts to complete an overseas comeback. Almost sounds like a movie to me, the way it was described there. Rated PG. Well, maybe rated R for violence. But they got him at 21. Then it's Jones, Murray, Jackson, Dart at 24, Jay Fields at 25, Gabby at 26, Geno 27, Cam Ward 28, Bryce Young at 29, then Joe Flacco at 30, Spencer Rattler at 31, Cooper Rush, Baltimore Ravens sitting at the bottom. Because they don't know, I guess they're not including Lamar because he's
just
hurt.
the current starters.
It's just the current group of quarterbacks.
I will say, I find the quarterback power rankings to be fascinating, right? Because if you would have done any power rankings in the last 3-4 years, like there always seems to be like an obvious top 5, and then the next 5 or 6, there's another tier, but they're always kind of the same quarterbacks, right? Like everyone's kind of the same tier. If you look at these like current NFL power rankings, like the guy who's sitting at 15 or 16, some could argue could be 4. And
Right,
some of the guys, if some of the guys are like 8 and 9, you could argue should be top 3. Like it's very interchangeable.
Yes.
And I don't think there's really defined tiers this year.
And the way you know how I've always ranked quarterbacks is that it's a very simple formula. And it's probably it's not an exact science, and it probably isn't the only way, but a lot of people like to use, the statistics and the sabermetrics and the, yards per pass and how many completion percentage and your QBR rating and touchdown to interception ratio. And all that I believe is important, but I still go, if I got to win a ball game and, I'm trailing by a tutty and I'm deep in my own zone, especially if you're on the road and the weather's not good and you might only have one timeout left. Who do you want to hand the ball to? And yeah, I mean, I like Goff and Love and some of these others, but man, Mahomes.
I'm not ready to put Love ahead of Mahomes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't even want to put Goff ahead of Mahomes, even though Goff has done it. Some of these guys just go, well, I guess
those two we can decide after Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. You look at some of those and you just go, I'd rather have one of those guys at the top of the list, but it's interesting. So many of these names are younger quarterbacks that are really just getting started in their career. You have Love, who's basically, is this his third year as a starter or second or third? Right, is all
I would say third or fourth.
I mean, is up to 4 now, third or fourth. Yeah, you're probably right, third or fourth. Jaden Daniels just starting. Darnold, even though he's been in the year, this is only his second year where you feel like he's actually playing. Drake May, Bo Nix, Stroud.
Third year as a starter.
Yeah. Caleb Williams, Michael Penix, a lot of young guys in there at quarterback.
Would have been interesting if McCarthy was still playing, where he'd be ranked on that list.
Well, yeah, it would be. Well, I would think if you're going strictly on accomplishments for this year, it'd be hard to rank him real high just because we've talked about that ratio. He was simply brilliant against the Bears in the fourth quarter. I think he impressed everyone so much so that he won the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Now, we kind of joked a little bit about there must not have been that many great performances, but he was really good in that fourth quarter. The other 7 quarters he's played, he's looked a little bit lost. And, part of that does have to do with that offensive line as leaky as it is, right?
Yes.
And that goes back to what O'Connell said earlier this week when he said he was almost suggesting that, and not that the injury was a blessing in disguise, but watching again. Now, again, he had a chance to watch Darnold for a year, but it didn't seem like last year's offensive line was as leaky as this year's until that game with Detroit and then the Rams, right? That, especially the Rams game. The Detroit game was mostly on Darnold. The Rams game, they had 9 sacks and never rushed more than 4. But it didn't seem like there was that much pressure on Darnold last year. If it was, he was picking it up awful quick because they went 14-3. But I don't think McCarthy's really stood much of a chance either in defense of him. I mean, when you've never played NFL football before, other than that preseason one half he played, and I know I know he's won a lot. He won a natty at the college level. They throw out that number all the time. In all the games he started in high school and college, he's only lost 3 games. But when you're playing National Football League caliber defenses, and the Bears that's pretty good defense, and the Falcons are pretty good too, right? When you're playing pretty good defenses like that, and you're not getting a lot of protection on the line, it's hard even for a veteran quarterback to succeed, much less a young kid. So it will be interesting to see if this line gets healthy again. We're expecting Jackson back in a week. Could he be ready for the Eagles game? Because I thought it was wasn't it like a wrist?
I think he will be back. Yeah.
So he'll be back. Darisaw.
I saw he's coming off IR.
Yeah.
Him and Cashman.
Yeah.
Cashman, cash out.
Cash in, cash out. But on the offensive line, you'll have Darisaw and Jackson.
Yep. And Fries.
And Fries. So you'll have 3 of those guys.
And maybe O'Neal.
So it'll be more interesting to see.
And maybe Brandell. Yeah, he looked pretty decent at center against Cleveland. It was the first time ever playing there. It's very small sample, but.
Yeah. Well, and, anytime you see a performance like that, you start to wonder if, because everybody wants, some of these positions are so tough to play. We all know quarterback is certainly, but, center, but, and I know it's but you see a performance like that, you go, how hard can it be? A guy who's never done it before went in there and played pretty well. I mean, I don't think, it wasn't like he stuck out like a sore thumb and was having all kinds of trouble. Seemed like he knew, because I think the center kind of helps with the protections and all those kinds of things. And I thought he did just, you wouldn't, put it this way, I never went, boy, we're really having trouble at the center position. I never thought that during the game. So,
well, maybe, I don't know what goes into changes at the line with protections. Maybe having a veteran quarterback who can kind of make those calls, whereas JJ might need a little more help from the center and looking at line protection stuff. Maybe that helps having a veteran like Carson in there.
There was one other story I saw, and they were talking about free agent acquisitions and how important they can be to a team that's kind of on the cusp of winning. Like, look what the Eagles did last year. I mean, getting Saquon Barkley, I would say, was one of the most important free agent acquisitions in recent memory, not just last year. I mean, they really didn't have much of a running game. They were using, wasn't it DeAndre Swift? Is that who it was? I mean, they didn't have much of a running game until they got Barkley, and then he went off for, 2,000 yards?
Yeah.
Who was the guy that got the Zach Bond? Is that his name? Defensive guy? You familiar?
For who?
He was Defensive Player of the Year last year.
For the Eagles?
I don't think it was it wasn't Eagles. It was, hold on.
Patrick Surtain was the Defensive Player of the Year last year. Cornerback.
He was? He was a finalist. I'm sorry, finalist for the Defensive Player of the Year. Yeah, it says, Zach Bond was 2024's best veteran defensive player acquisition. He made a smooth transition.
Oh, Zach Bond. I think you said Bond.
No, I said Bond. Okay, Rosie. Edge rushing outside linebacker to inside linebacker, and was a finalist for NFC, or for the NFL's Defensive Player of the Year award. He was a finalist for it. So they were using those examples as 2 really good free agent acquisitions. They have 10 listed for this year. 2 of them former Vikings, Darnold and Danny Jones, 2 quarterbacks. But they also say the Vikings own one of the best free agent pickups. Isaiah Rodgers, Zay Rodgers, I call him.
So far.
He won...
A lot of that's out of one game.
Yeah,
but,
against the Bengals, he was brilliant. Yeah. But, I've had this discussion with friends and listeners and such like that. Maybe you and I have even discussed it too. Going the free agent route can be risky. It can, because you're generally spending a lot of money, right? We've seen that. We signed 2 interior guys on both, so 4 players, 2 on the interior, the defense and the offense. We spent a lot of money to get those players, and you're taking a little bit of a leap of faith. Most of them have a good track record. That's why they're getting paid a lot of money, but they also generally are a little long in the tooth, maybe coming off injuries like with the Vikings players. And so, I always defended we took text messages regarding that from listeners. And I defended the organization. I will continue to do that if you feel like you're in a position to win now, which coming off a 14-3 season, and if you're going to go with a rookie quarterback, you need to protect them. And the middle of that Vikings offensive line was a mess. And I know that the 2 guys we signed were coming off major injuries from last year, but I still think you got to take that chance sometimes. But it can be devastating if you go out and get free agents and they're not any good, and you've got all that money invested into them. It can be devastating for a team for that season.
Same with draft picks.
Well, and draft picks too,
yeah.
Right? But so when you're trying to fill with those high price free agents, it can be. Well,
that's the good thing about the Vikings free agent picks over the last couple seasons is they're getting good productions from the free agents, and typically at a smaller price.
Yes.
Now the Kelly one doesn't look like it's going to work out so well, but Rodgers was completely on the cheap. And they got him on day 1 of free agency, and people are like, "What are you guys doing?" And that looks like a steal. I mean, Van Ginkel last year was at a good price. Grenard they spent money on, but that one worked out. Cashman at his price has been good.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of hits there.
We're starting to put it together.
I need to get some more hits in the draft.
Yeah,
but
probably would do that as well. Program password tomorrow, right?
Correct. Max Fuller and Julia Daniels. I believe she has played once, but it wasn't when we were here. But,
all right.
Julia Daniels of Care 11.
Care 11. So they'll be in tomorrow. Lil B, of course, Feminine Touch at 1. She'll play program password as well.
Yeah, baby.
Teddy, thanks for having me.
Hey, great job.
You as well. I enjoyed our visit with you today. I think Teddy did as well. We're back tomorrow at 12 noon in the program. Lil B at 1 and program password at 1:30. Stick around. Big Ticket JG there next. Right here on the Fan.
Good night. Good morning. Good afternoon. And good night, Minnesota.
Good night, folks. And good night, Mrs. Calabash. Wherever you are.
Listen back to any of Common Man's programs by podcasting on the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.